Hi everyone, EnPTinio here. Happy New Year. It's 2023 and we are going to review the 2022 events that made urban planning. In 2022, I gave you 4 influences that may affect urban planning: the COVID-19 effect, the devolution effect, the election effect, and the climate change effect. In this episode, I hope to highlight some of the news and articles that made 2022 special in terms of urban planning. Note that this is not a comprehensive review of urban planning in 2022, but I hope to make you realize that COVID-19, devolution, election, and climate change has really affected and influenced urban planning in the Philippines in 2022. 2022 was the year of optional face mask wearing. In October of 2022, an executive order by the President made face masks voluntary in indoor and outdoor settings. This proved that the government is realizing that COVID-19 is no longer the threat that it used to be. And this optional face mask wearing also gave confidence for CHED and DepEd to adopt full face-to-face classes in 2022. The face-to-face classes of students was also realized because of pediatric vaccination that started in February. Although we were scared by the Omicron surge at the start of the year, we saw that the new normal is really an old normal. Just like what we used to do before COVID-19, hindi na tayo nagsusuot ng face mask sa labas, and bumalik na rin tayo sa ating mga quote-unquote normal na pamumuhay. 2022 was also the start of the full devolution of some government functions from the national government to local government units. Devolution is the transfer of powers, responsibilities, and services from a larger government entity to a smaller or to a low-level government entity. This devolution is also already enshrined in our 1991 Local Government Code and the 1986 Constitution. So in terms of recovery from the COVID-19 effect, for the COVID-19 pandemic, local governments are still dependent on the national tax allotment, formerly known as the internal revenue allotment, and this would have really birth pains, or this will manifest in birth pains at least in the first few months, or basically malaking part na ng devolution dapat ang nangyari in 2022. But I continued to see some government agencies that have not yet released or have not yet don't have approved devolution plans yet, and this is very critical, of course, so that the relationships among the national government agencies and the local government units are delineated properly, especially that the national tax allotment is expected to decrease and has already decreased in terms of in the year of 2023. Related with the devolution of powers is the recovery from disasters that happened, from the impact of disasters in 2022, most especially the Abra earthquake that happened in July. So the rehabilitation of Abra began in October 2022 as reported in Manila Times. But in my opinion, the DRR or the disaster risk reduction and management efforts of the local government units should still be much supported by the national government, especially with the access to the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Fund. Very tedious, and I hope that this process would be greatly improved in 2023. As an aside, I hope to promote Plan Smart for disaster rehabilitation and recovery. This automated application was launched by FIVOX DOST and OCD, NEDA, and the World Bank in July, and I am part of it as an environmental planning consultant. I hope local government units will find this application helpful in completing their disaster rehabilitation and recovery plans more effectively and timely, especially in terms of national or regional level of disasters that affect many individuals and properties that hopefully would not take as much time as in the past. A positive note in 2022 was the declaration of Makati City of climate emergency. So their statement reads that being a low-lying coastal city, Makati is vulnerable to calamities intensified by climate change such as typhoons, floods, and landslides. It is my hope that through this declaration, Makati City inspires all the local government units of Metro Manila to declare also respective climate emergencies in their own context and contribute to the climate knowledge of the other local chief executives who have not yet determined the influence and the impact and the importance of climate emergency or declaring a climate emergency and consequently climate adaptation and mitigation efforts to their planning and development. So it is also my hope that in declaring this climate emergency, Makati focuses on not only the trending climate mitigation efforts like green electric vehicles or green products, but focus on supporting existing climate mitigation efforts such as providing better and protected bicycle lanes in their city and also locating parks that are near workplaces and residences so that these can also be nature-based solutions for flooding and evacuation efforts. I saved the best for last. The election effect was greatly felt, especially in the first and second quarters of 2022. President Bongbong Marcos was sweared in as the 17th president, and to his merit or giving him credit, I am positive about his cabinet choices for the DNR and DOST positions. Hopefully, the president would really strive to conduct transparent and incorruptible government, especially in the light of climate change and disaster risk reduction for our vulnerable communities, most especially the urban poor and the aging populations. So the president has not yet, as of this recording in January 9, has not yet appointed a permanent DOH secretary and also a permanent agriculture secretary. These two are very important when it comes to our food security and our rehabilitation and recovery from COVID-19. Hopefully, the president would heed his critics in the importance of appointing these secretary or cabinet positions. It is also worrisome that the Secretary of Social Welfare and Development was bypassed by the Commission on Appointments twice. So I hope that also the appointment of the Transportation Secretary would heed the call of more commuters to provide transportation that is accessible and inclusive and affordable for the 82% of commuters. It is critical to watch for the privatization efforts of the EDSA bus carousel, as this would be not only a present indicator of the trajectory of the government, but also give precedence to other large mass transport projects, particularly bus rapid transits in metropolitan centers of Cebu and Davao. It is also important to note that the local elections would definitely affect the dynamics of devolution. I said it in 2022 and I'm saying it again. Urban planning is political, and we cannot disregard the importance of leaders who understand the importance of visioning and contextualizing their plans and programs in the changing climate and disaster risk scenarios of their local government units. I hope the Office of Civil Defense would be able to assist them and increase their capacity together with the DILG in managing their local territories in a way that would prevent disaster risk, but also become climate responsive and resilient in their urban and regional planning. So that was my take on 2022 Filipino Urban Planning. Again, this is EnPTinio, Filipino Environmental Planner. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Spotify, and at enptinio.com.